believe it was in 1982. I was coming from a baby shower, and I had a little baby with me in our truck, and we live on a desolate road, so I was driving along, and I was probably, do you say the gate, a quarter of a mile from home?
Mm-hmm.
About a quarter of a mile yet to get to my home. And I glanced and saw this furry creature from, I don't know how far down. It looked like mostly legs. I didn't see the upper body. And the hair was long and flowing. The wind was kind of blowing. And it was the most beautiful. It was real shiny. And I got home and told my husband. And I said I had never seen a bear, had straight legs like. It was weird. And he said, I don't think that was a bear. So we went over, and I was telling my brother, and at the time it wasn't my nephew. They weren't married yet, but him and my brother hung out all the time fishing and stuff, and they wanted to go check it out because they were interested in things like that, and they thought it was Sasquatch, Bigfoot. So they went over, and along the road where I saw it, you could see where it come down off the bank, and it had actually taken a limb. When it come down, it snapped it off. You couldn't even reach up to it. And then there was, a footprint about that long.
What I had been told was the tree branch was around 12 feet off of the ground that had been broken off. You could see where it had been sliding, coming down over the bank, so it had reached up and grabbed a branch to support it. And it had broken off, and then that's where it crossed over the road where she had seen it. It would be something that you would hear on a dinosaur movie. Not saying it's a dinosaur. It's a kind of call that when you hear it, and it's not an elk bugle, but it's almost like like that. And it goes on and on.
Yes.
And it got to the point where
heard this too.
It's not even frightening anymore. It's
grandpa
annoying. You'll hear it, and we at one time had 3 to 4 of them all at once doing it from different areas, and it gets to the point where you have to go to work in the morning, and it's getting on your nerves because that's all you can hear, and you can't go to sleep because you just start to go to sleep, and it does it again, and you wake up, and you have to sit and listen to it. And Dad and I, at one point, it was doing it even in daylight like this. It was doing it. We got up, and I told Dad, I said, I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of hearing this. I want to know what it is. The minute we stepped foot into the woods, it stopped. As soon as we crossed into the tree line, not a peep. So we never saw what was making the noise, but it was not like anything you're going to hear around here. It wasn't a fox, it wasn't raccoons fighting. I've heard that. It was raccoons fighting. Probably a bear. No, you've heard these noises. And that was just a really quick version. It was much longer, drawn out call. And like I say, you would hear 3 to 4 of them at times doing it in different locations, back and forth. And it would go on for 45 minutes to an hour at times. Am I exaggerating?
No, I haven't heard it for a long time.
We haven't heard this in probably, 3 to 4 years.
At least. I thought maybe because I've been sick. I don't know.
No, it's been 3 to 4 years at least since we've heard it.
It would wake you right up out of it. I mean, it just frightens you when you hear it. You'd wake right up.
It's very peaceful back there. So anything like that's going to split the night.
So when you say back there, the area that you would hear it from, is this the campground area?
No, it's right
at our home.
Right at our home. Right at our home. Where the little party shed sits, that's all fallen down, where the card parties used to be there. There used to be a residence there. That was where my uncle that built that little place lived. Mm-hmm. And he called up to our house one night and he asked my dad, he said, "Can you hear that?" And Dad said, "Yeah, I've been listening to it for a while." And my uncle said, "What the hell is that?" Dad said, "I don't know, I've never heard anything like that." Mind you, my uncle was like 68 and he'd never heard anything like that. And
Their dog was scared.
oh, it was under the bed. And he said he threw the back window up. And they had an addition on the back of their mobile home, and it was made out of T111 plywood siding. Mm-hmm. And he took the spotlight and shined it out, and he was trying to see something. When he did, he said something just slammed off the side of the addition. So he said, I turned the light off and shut the window pretty quick. Well, we went out in the morning, and there was a piece of sandstone about baseball size that had taken a chunk out of the side. We walked all over to find where it could have come from, and the only place we found where anything had been disturbed was along the road up at the top where you first break out of the woods to come around into the clearing where our property is. It was from up there. So it had thrown it clear across the pond and hit the mobile home. That's probably close 200 yards.
That's a long throw.
Yeah, and that's what he said. When he started to get up around there with the spotlight, rock flew, and he said that was it for him. He put the light away. You've got to realize, too, that the elevation goes up from our place, too. We're sort of in the middle. You have the low ground where we're at, and then you have the hilltop. Mm-hmm. So, and that's anything that's... Any creature that's mobile can cover a large area. That's a large field up there.
And it's like when it walked, it seemed like it was walking or flying by, and it kept doing that noise. And then Gerald and them would hear it. And it was just crazy. You just thought...
Yeah, the noise was more, like I said, it was nerve-wracking than anything.
It was a constant thing.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't just isolated. And I asked Dan.
It was through the summer. It was spring. Fall. It was just, and it was for a period of several years. This went on. It was like there was a concentration of it for a long time, and then it just stopped. And we didn't hear anything for the longest time, and then all of a sudden, probably. I'm going to say probably 2000 to 2006, you'd start hearing it once in a while again, and then it would stop. And then maybe, 2008, 2012, you'd hear it a couple more times. But it was never the concentration that it was in the early 90s. Like 93, 94, in that time frame, to where it was like you get up in the morning, you didn't want to go to the school bus. You didn't want to walk to the bus after hearing that all night. It's like, I don't care what that is, it's not worth walking to the school bus. The longest period would probably be from, I'm going to say 12:30 a.m. until probably 4 a.m. And we never actually took an exact time of it, but that is probably a good estimation of the amount of time that it went on. And it wasn't, at that time, it wasn't continuous. It would go on for a long period of time and stop, and you'd think, okay, it's over. Then it would start back up again. There'd be a period of silence, like everything calmed down, everybody's got their panties out of a twist, now we're going back to sleep. No, and then it starts right back up again at the same amount that it was before. And it's like there was a rhythm to it. This one would do it so many times, this one would do it so many times, and just back and forth. It was almost like a conversation. One of the oddest things was the sound that appeared last summer.
Tell us about that.
We haven't heard this sound that sound, the call, whatever you want to call it, for a long period of time. I was out at my truck. I had to go out to my truck. It was 1 a.m. one night. I come in and it's weird because we have chickens. And up in the woods behind our place, I could hear something walking, but it was making a hen noise. Mm-hmm. Like the way a hen would just, whenever she's, calm and relaxed, wah, 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 that noise. It was just like there was a chicken walking through the woods. I'd never heard anything like that in my life. And I knew our chickens weren't out because it was 1 o'clock in the morning, they're a roost. You could tell it wasn't a chicken because a chicken doesn't have that volume. It was a higher volume. It projected farther than a chicken. A hen, you'll hear that noise for 25, 30 yards. At the most, this was much farther away, and it was very clear the sound it was making. It sounded just like an old hen. Like I said, I can't explain what it is. You've heard it.
I've heard it.
Yeah, we've all heard this one too. I don't know whether my thing or my idea with it was, it knows that we're sick and tired of hearing the other things, so it just decided to change
So you
its
think
tune.
it has a sense of humor?
I don't know if it has a sense of humor, but it's maybe being partially sympathetic towards us.
We even called it. I go outside. My dad's like, "Watch out for the chicken, man."
Yeah, and that's, you just because you get so used to this stuff, you're around it enough, you become numb to it.
And you make jokes about it.
You make jokes about it.
Part of your life.
Yeah, it becomes it's a part of your everyday life, and then then you start thinking about it. It's like, well, that's not really a joke. What's making the noise of a chicken at 1 o'clock in the morning?
So
depending on what time you're out, we know our chickens are in the coop, shut up, and they're on the roost sleeping. But yet, between sometimes you'd hear it at 9:30. Sometimes, like I heard it, 1 o'clock in the morning coming
I've
back
even
in.
heard it in broad daylight.
Remember that night I was out with the wood pile? I told you, boy, I scurried into the house.
Mm-hmm.
She jumped about 2 feet off the ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
It sounded like it was right near me.
When I heard it, I could hear the footsteps in the woods. And as it would take a step, it would make the noise. And my feeling at that point was whatever this is trying to cover up its footsteps by mimicking a common noise that we would be accustomed to hearing.
Buck, remember your dad got me up one day. He said, "There's something down. You've got to see this."
Oh yeah, you called me. I can tell you what time that was. It was almost 6 p.m. I was at my friend's garage and you called me all frantic.
Is this recently or years ago?
This was
or?
about 3 years ago, or four
My
years ago.
husband wakes me up and he said, "You got to come see this. I never seen it. I don't know what it is. I can't tell what it is. I've never seen anything like it." I said, "Well, what is it?" He said, "Just come out." So I hurried out into our kitchen, and that's the one that's closer to the road, that window. And it was down in front of the trailer, down towards the house. And we had, at that time, there was some logging done, and there was some leftovers down there, and it was crawling up on the junk pieces of log. And I said, "It looks like it's some type of deformed, the turkey part, the bottom, not the head, but just the bottom, and monkey-like too. It was going like a monkey." And I told him, I said, "Do you think somebody's ape got out of back at the lake? Somebody had one in their house or something, and it got loose?" We didn't know.
When you say the bottom of a turkey,
it was rounded like, and that's just what I would see. And then I started seeing its arms, and it was motivating with its arms and its feet.
But at that time, though, the fields weren't cut.
No.
So it's hard to discern what its lower, extremities would have looked like because it's traveling through goldenrod and fern.
There was nothing that him and I could describe what it was.
Long hair, like you saw before, or not?
It didn't. No, it was like I think a brownish color. It must have had like a fur, but not like the long fur.
So this was clearly something different than
yes,
what you
it looked
had
like
seen
a
in
baby of some sort. It hung around for a long time on those logs. I don't know what it was doing. Maybe getting bugs off of them. I told my husband, I said, "That isn't a turkey, is it?" Because all I could see was the big body. He said, "No." He said, "You watch it." And I started
Dad
watching.
Described it to me
It
as
looked
like a smaller. It was almost ape-like.
Yes, it was.
And
after you got to look,
it was very cautious as it started to move away.
It was
skirted the
odd
tree
shaped
line and was constantly looking. It was looking around, seeing, aware of its surroundings. That's how it was described to me. And when you called me frantic on the phone, you asked me, "You don't think somebody left a monkey or something out back, do you?"
But it wasn't any animal we've ever seen before. I knew it looked odd, and he said to me,
Did you see the front of it at all?
From up the trailer, it was very hard to see, and I said, "I'm going to run out back." "Don't you dare go outside," he tells me, but I ran out, and I went out into the driveway, and he had an old pickup truck, and I don't even think it ran. I would have gotten a truck or whatever. We didn't have no vehicle, so and it didn't come over far enough. Whatever happened to it after that, I don't know, because I didn't go down. My husband would have been nuts if I'd have went down, but I didn't know what it was. I think it's arms were shorter or its legs were longer. It was odd. It moved around on those logs that was down there. They were big logs.
So it had longer arms and shorter legs? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm going to be lying. I'm not sure how it was, but it was odd shaped. And it wasn't anything. My husband, he said, I don't believe this. He said, this is...
Dad told me it kind of walked hunched over.
Yes, it did.
He said
it
hunched
did.
over.
Yes, it
walked
did.
Hunched over, and it was constantly.
Its body was
looking
odd
around.
shaped. It's just nothing that we've ever seen. Like I said at first when I looked at it, I said, is that a turkey? You know, I saw the round body, but it was big. I said, that's the biggest turkey. But there wasn't like a neck to it. Like, that's the only way I can describe it. I didn't see the face on it from up where we were at. You couldn't see that.
Were the movements like quick jerks, or are these like slow moving?
I think it was a slow moving when I got out
Dad
there.
said that it was very cautious acting. It
Yeah.
was moving deliberate, you know, it was keeping an eye on what was going on around, but it never wandered out too far away from the woods. It was, you know, just kind of skirting the edge of the woods. And
When it got down in front of the house where he couldn't see it anymore and I ran to the back, I thought it would come over, so it must have just got in front of the house and went on into the woods, because that was the end of it.